Aubrey Marcus, we have to talk about this because for the first time, I actually don't hate him for what he's putting out in the world. Not to say that I ever hated Aubrey Marcus before. I was just not a fan, if I'm completely honest. Like, I know Ryan, my partner, went on his podcast. Even back then, I wasn't a fan. Ryan was a fan back in the day. When I first met him, he listened to his podcast a lot. I could just never get on board with it. I didn't really like the dude. But I will say, I know Aubrey Marcus's recent podcast, it's like bringing everyone up in arms, saying he's a narcissist and you shouldn't be processing publicly and all these different things. Someone asked me what I thought about Aubrey Marcus shit going on right now, because he's like a spiritual leader that for a long time a lot of people have trusted and have looked up to, and he's positioned himself as this authority, but people have also seen his life go through a dumpster fire as he's positioning himself as an authority, and then he gets married and people just don't agree with his choices. So for those of you who don't know, I think a lot of people know about this, but Aubrey Marcus has recently come out and said that he's doing polyamory again, that he's not just doing monogamy. And he said that like Isis or some god told him to. I know a lot of people think he's a narcissist spiritual leader and now he's processing publicly, and, polyamory didn't work for him before. So it's kind of weird that he's going back now and everyone's being like, hey, are you sure you want to go back? And it's not just the pattern repeating, and people are just shitting on him and looking down on him and thinking he's crazy and narcissistic and all those things. And it's so funny because for so long, that's why I didn't like him. He always radiated like a guy positioning himself as the authority as opposed to actually being authentic. If I'm completely honest, I have felt that way about most authority figures. It's very rare that I have felt into someone over these last 20 years of Pluto in Capricorn. I mean, this is also just my adult life. It's very rare that in my adult life I have seen a spiritual leader and have said, you're authentic. I've always felt something off in someone. And so, especially Aubrey Marcus. So with everyone coming out with this now, I'm like, yeah, I've always felt this. But I don't feel the same way, I think, as everyone else with how he's sharing his heart right now. I actually think this is the first time Aubrey is being vulnerable and messy, and he knows that he publicly came out and said he was never going to do polyamory again. And he knows that what he's doing right now is a direct contradiction of what he has said before and how people have experienced him. And I know a lot of people are calling him a fake and a narcissist, and like now everyone sees his patterns, but I actually think this is him showing the world his true self unapologetically and not being afraid to be messy and wrong and change his mind and like be the example of a vulnerable human experience. Because for some reason we put these people on a pedestal. Like however Aubrey Marcus has behaved up until this point, people have put him on a pedestal, a hierarchy, Pluto and Capricorn. And no one's meant to be put on the pedestal. There's no one above us. There's no one above you. There's no one above me. But for some reason, because people have positioned themselves to be this enlightened, hierarchical, amazing person, we expect them to stay there. And the moment we see that they're really human and messy and say weird things, we stop trusting them. And then it's like their authenticity is what makes us not trust them. That's what I'm seeing right now. And so, yeah, I don't agree with a lot of people. I'm not all up in arms like, oh my God, see, Aubrey's a narcissist. I'm like, dude, I've thought that about him the whole time. I actually think for the first time, good for you, dude. Good for you for contradicting yourself publicly, changing your mind publicly, saying weird ass shit like Isis told you to impregnate 2 women and God source told you. Like, good for you. Good for you. That's how I feel about it. I just feel like for the first time, this man's being authentic and not afraid to be messy and not afraid to be vulnerable. And this is the transition from Pluto in Capricorn to Pluto in Aquarius. No one was meant to be on the hierarchy. No one was meant to be perfect. For some reason, we think that there was rules around you have to show up as an authority and you can't process publicly. You know, that confusing energy is now getting put on everyone else. And now everyone's upset and up in arms. People are upset and up in arms because they thought that you were some ideal person that they desired to attain, and now they realize you're actually just a fucking human like everyone else. That's why people are really up in arms. And maybe they're up in arms because they feel like you lied to them this whole time. But you want to know what? Everyone and their fucking mother has put a mask on. That's why in astrology, we have a rising sign. It's literally your mask. And it's a form of human protection because look what happens when people are radically authentic. Especially back in the day. Last time Pluto transitioned from Capricorn to Aquarius, we had all of the revolutions, the American Revolution, the French Revolution, the Haitian Revolution. We had, what other? We had the Enlightenment era. It was really peaking because we were dissolving into revolutionary action. Before that, we had kings and queens. We had hierarchy. We had this person we looked up to. We knew that we had to obey authority, that there was someone above us. There was someone more connected to God. And when we went from Pluto and Capricorn to Pluto and Aquarius, that's when we had the American Revolution. Like, we're like, no, you can't be my king or queen. No, you're not closer to God than me. Actually, I'm my own God, and I'm going to rebel, and we're going to create our whole new land. And it's going to be messy. And it's going to be war-filled. And we're going to do it because we see freedom, the freedom in being in our authentic selves. And so, as much as I know everyone wants to hate on Aubrey Marcus, I think he is actually a perfect example of this transition. And he's not afraid to make it messy, and he's not afraid to embarrass the shit out of himself. And he's not afraid to contradict himself. And, you know, if I think about the podcast, the last couple podcast episodes that I put out, I was terrified to put those out because, you know, I mentioned, I don't even know if I want to teach astrology anymore. And then a couple episodes later, I was like, no, it's just integrating into my life in a healthy way. It will always be part of my life. And I remember second guessing myself and being like, shit, did I just confuse people? Shit. Did I just dismantle my whole aura of authority? I literally have been saying that to myself the last 2 days. Because we've made these rules around what it means to be a fucking authority. As if I have to have all of the answers before I come to you publicly and I have to present this perfect image of, yes, I have an astrology business. I am an astrologer and I think about it 24/7. And like, I could have kept going on and telling you that, or I could just tell you the process my mind goes through because I'm a fucking human. And that's actually what's real and authentic. And I don't have to position myself as some sort of authority because I'm not an authority. And neither is Aubrey Marcus. And neither is the President of the United States. They like to believe they are. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for that one. But no one is your fucking authority. No one is Aubrey's. And so that's why it doesn't matter all this hate he's getting online. I'm fucking proud of him for the first time in ever hearing about him. I don't give a shit if I don't agree with anything he said or I think it's weird. I mean, I don't think it's that weird. But weird is Pluto and Aquarius. Aquarius is the weirdest sign, the rebellious sign, the one who does things that are not socially acceptable and not part of the social norm. Not part of it. So, hate on him all you want, but this is one of those moments in human history where people hate on the people that are actually ahead of the curve, where people hate on the people who are actually anchoring into something, an energy, a way of being that's going to be normalized over the next 20 years. Happens every single time. This isn't really the beginning of the transgender movement, but I feel like I can tell this story here. So a couple episodes ago, I said how I'm not for this transgender movement. I am for transgender people, but I'm not for this movement. And I'll tell you, this is a perfect example. Okay, so I have someone in my life that I've known my whole entire life that is truly transgender. Truly. Before it was cool, before this movement happened. And I actually grew up in a very liberal town. I grew up in a very Jewish town. It used to be the most densely populated Jewish town in the country. Fun fact, Sharon, Massachusetts, not there anymore, but shout out to Sharon. And in my town, everyone was liberal. But the thing is back in the day, liberal people weren't for transgender people. No one was for transgender people. And this person in my life who I'm very close to, like blood family, like I love them to fucking death, was born a boy born a girl, sorry. And I knew their whole life that they were either lesbian or something. I just knew that they weren't meant to be a girl. I could feel it off them. And like, I could feel how uncomfortable they felt. And I'm not calling them they because of the stupid names. I'm calling them they because at the time they were a girl and now they're a boy. And so I'm just using they for the transition period of this story. And I remember it wasn't normalized to even really be gay or lesbian when this person knew that they didn't feel right in their skin. And this person was so depressed most of their life. And I remember one time I was driving this person to their work because we had like a ritual of me doing that. And they were like smiling at this girl, messaging them. And I asked them if they liked the girl because she was a girl at the time and said I might be bi. And like, you could tell that that was like a huge admission. I was the first person they admitted that to. And then eventually they came out as lesbian, but still didn't feel good in their skin, like severely depressed. And I literally had always had in my head, this person's not a girl, it's a guy, even before transgender was a thing, even before they said anything. And so eventually got really depressed, ended up needing to go to all these different therapists and come to find out that like thinking of himself as a guy actually made him feel safer in like who he truly is. And so it was like this whole process to transition into a guy. And the process required so many different therapist notes because it was not like an easy thing to become a transgender person back then. And they put you through the fucking ringer, and it was not kind and it was not nice. But what ended up happening was through all the tests determined they were transgender and then was able to transition. This person went from serious, like really bad depression, the lowest low of depressions you could have most of their life, to not being depressed anymore, to feeling finally safe in their skin. And this happened in high school. And I remember, even though I grew up in a very liberal town, transgender was not in back then. And they used to separate gowns by gender. And at this moment in time, he was like middle transitioning and it wasn't really accepted or acknowledged that he was transitioning yet. And so he went to the, what's it called? Student council leader or the, guidance counselor people, and asked if they could separate the gowns by last name instead of gender because of this transition he's going through very bravely. And they said yes, and they told that to the class, and everyone in the class ripped this person a new one, was an asshole to him over them separating the gowns by last name instead of gender. Yeah. And I remember this person was so hurt. And it was like sad for me too, because I knew how this person felt as a girl and how this person felt so much like themselves as a guy. And it made sense to me because I'm very intuitive in my whole life. Even before this was a thing, I felt that they were a guy, the girl. And so anyways, there is such an asshole to this person that I love. And then like 10 years later, and transgender things started to become cool. Everyone who wasn't in like Trump was going for president, and everyone was like, and everyone in my town that I grew up in, because they're all Jewish liberals, were like, fuck you, you're the devil, Trump. I have no fucking opinions. I mean, I don't think he's the best thing in the world, but I was not political, so I'm not even gonna get into that. But all of those people who were such an asshole to this person I'm talking about, all of a sudden they were for transgender people when it was cool. And I was putting some political stuff up at the time, because I was political at the time, that was going against all of their thoughts and beliefs. And people were telling me that I was not for transgender people, and that they were. And they were like, fuck you, bitch. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm actually for transgender people. I've always been for, the OG. It was like they were following the crowd or the news, or I don't know, all of a sudden, because it's cool, now they're gonna be mean to anyone who doesn't like transgender people, when literally they were the worst person that I love so much. And they were even being mean to me, saying that because of things I was posting for who I thought was the better candidate, they thought that I was not for transgender people, and were then shitting on me. And I was like, do you remember 10 years ago? And so that's why I really believe the transgender movement has moved out of hand. It became this popular, cool thing people started to do. And all of these people who were so mean to the person that I love the most, over with just asking for the gowns to be split up by their last name instead of gender, because of what he was going through at the time, now all of a sudden pretend like they're all high and mighty and actually for those people and actually open. That's really what I'm getting to, is Aquarius is this sign of openness and accepting of all people and all humanity. And I think we even kind of fucked that up over the last 20 years. We've made people right or wrong. That's very Capricornian. We made people either right or wrong for their beliefs, as if there's no middle ground. And that's really where I think humanity gets it wrong, is we tend to go between these extremes, these pendulum extremes, and really the truth is always in the middle. It's always in the gray area. It's always in authenticity, and that there is no right and wrong. And so with Aubrey Marcus coming out and saying this weird stuff about impregnating 2 people, and I don't know how Isis told them all these different things, I'm like, yeah, it's fucking weird. And if that's what feels authentic and right to him and what's true for him right now, just let him be. Why do we have to make things right or wrong, or take the pedestal away from certain people? Why do we have to call them a narcissist? I just don't even see how that makes him narcissistic, to be honest. I know people who know Aubrey Marcus, and he does kind things for people. And one thing I've heard from people closest to him that we know is that he's been taken advantage of a lot and has to protect his heart because of how successful he got, and how he takes care of everyone, but very few people take care of him, almost no one. And I don't think that's a narcissist, from what I know from the people closest to him. But we love to throw that term around. And so I guess the point of this whole podcast is I just want people to understand that nothing is right and wrong. And this is an age of radical authenticity and radical shifts and changes. And with Pluto and Aquarius, we will gain power through our messiness and authenticity and openness, and allowing people to be them. And because then it allows you to be fully you. We can take the mask off and we can just be. And that's really what I would love to focus on in this podcast going forward, is I want to just be me, and I want to talk about astrology in an integrated way. And I want to share other things like this. And I just want to share, whatever way feels authentic without being boxed in. So, curious what you guys think about that. I'll put my email down below. It's shinyyourrayastrology@gmail.com. I'd love to know your thoughts. If you would love to follow the astrology on a daily basis, I have my Higher Self Healing Codes course. And really, as we enter this time of authenticity and radically connecting to who we are, Higher Self Healing Codes is the best program for that, because I have 3-part workshop in there. I have so much in there. Like, the whole first part is just kind of mindset stuff. Like, you can start with the first video. You don't have to go through all the mindset stuff. Really, the meat of it, especially right now, as you're connecting to your authenticity, is those 3 workshops I have at the bottom. It's Heal Your Moon Sign in your 4th house. Helps you really connect to what home feels like for you, which is so important. With Jupiter moving into Cancer, we're going to gain a lot of growth, luck, and expansion by connecting to our home, our emotional world, our roots. And so start with the Heal Your Moon Foundation course. And then I also have a whole ChatGPT workbook that you can go through and get so deep into how to heal your emotional foundation, because that's everything for security going forward, for connecting to your authentic self, or feeling like you've come home to yourself. Then there's the Leo King Queen energy workshop in there, which teaches you how to connect to your fun and joy and what's authentic for you. And then there's the Capricorn workshop at the very bottom, which really helps you connect to discipline or devotion in your life. Because we're moving from discipline to devotion now. We're no longer just about being disciplined and reaching goals. We want to live our life from love, from devotion. And so I teach you through those 3 workshops how to learn your version of that, your flavor of that through your birth chart. Plus, I teach you how to get daily transits through ChatGPT so you can get daily ongoing guidance. It's so fucking valuable. It's changed my life, everything in there. It's how I've used astrology to change my life. And it's really a program you can use the rest of your life, because it goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's something you can just continuously study and experience yourself. I'm really moving into a time of realizing that I think coaching is on the way out. I think someone being your authority is on the way out. I don't want to be your authority. I just want to share tools that I use on a daily basis that have made a huge difference in my life, that have connected me to myself and helped me have fun and connect to my authenticity and be who I just love who I am right now. I love how free I feel in life. And that's what I would just want to gift to you guys. And that's what I do in Higher Self Healing Code. So if you'd like that, it's down in the show notes below. And that's all I have for this episode. So if you're listening on YouTube, make sure to like it, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe. If you're listening on a podcast player, I would appreciate a review so much, especially on Apple Podcasts. It helps the algorithm get the podcast out to more people. And it'd be a really great way of giving back. So I'm sending you love, and I'll see you on the next episode.